Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Okay, this is going to be a playoff of last week as well. Okay, the 5 keys to health, and we're going to go over each one of them, but also how to get off your prescription addiction. Since the average person over 60 has taken 12 different prescriptions, okay, and I'm 62 and I'm not taking any if someone's making up for me. Okay, now I love Benjamin Franklin. Being ignorant is not so much a shame as being unwilling to learn. And what did you just say, sir? 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Okay. Okay, luckily sarcasm is still allowed, kind of. Okay, if you're watching on Dr. BVIP in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks on the 27th, we have our apprenticeship program, which we're going to talk about how inflammation can regenerate joints. Okay, that's pretty cool. And I'll show you how to reverse arthritis. But we're going to mainly talk about knees, hips, ankles, elbows, and you're going to learn a lot. And it's a doctorate level anatomy course, and but worded to where regular people can understand. You're going to see how the body can regenerate. An Extreme Health Academy. This is a brilliant group. You can still get on there for no charge for 2 weeks. It's Bergman 14 is the code. But this was a brilliant piece of legislation by our government, who is no longer in control of the people. Okay, AB 2098, and it makes disseminating and misinformation is defined, or disinformation. Now, misinformation means you're making a statement that you didn't know was false. Disinformation is what governments do to purposely change or propagandize to change the thought processes of the people. So this makes it misleading information if you say anything regarding the nature and risks of the virus, okay? Its prevention and treatment, development, safety, and effectiveness of the injectables by a physician and surgeon, that's unprofessional conduct. So just understand, okay, that the government is always right. Okay, one opinion works for everyone. So physicians, if they're gauging that their patient has had these operations or drugs or anything else, and these interventions might be a benefit or there might be something else, forget that. One opinion fits all. One therapy fits all. And trust the authorities, they never change their opinion. What was that again? 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Okay, never mind. Okay, so just know that currently we're allowed to express our opinions in different areas, okay? Now, since this law will probably work really, really well, I'm imagining that they're going to pass more laws to restrict more things, okay? So this way, you don't have to worry your head about differences of opinion. Well, first, this is what is actual fact, okay? The body is an innate inborn intelligence. Okay, if you're curious about this, eat a banana, find out within 24 hours you've turned that banana into protein, fats, and carbohydrates, and you've built eye tissue out of that banana, or apple, or orange, or mahi-mahi, okay? Whatever you're eating, this is what your body does. It's brilliant. Your body is self-healing and self-regulating. That's a fact. Okay, 97 to 99% of diseases are really adaptations to stressors. And we're going to go into that because that might be a difference of opinion if you are trained by the pharmaceutical industry. Genetic expression is determined by your perception. You perceive the environment through your nervous system. All of that's facts. Now, we come up with five keys to health. And it's literally your nervous system, exercise, nutrition, rest, and prayer and meditation. Because anything that helps your body take in nutrients, assimilate those nutrients, eliminate waste products, and produce healthy cells, this is a good thing. Okay, does that make sense? Now, you have an automatic nervous system. One part keeps you alive under stress, that's the sympathetic, and that shuts blood supply down to the digestion and immune system and runs it to the arms and legs. The other, the rest, digest, and repair, is located in the neck and the pelvis. This is responsible for digestion. Now, you have one nerve that governs this all. No, it's not the ring, it's the nerve. It's called the vagus nerve. Okay? And there's no Lord of the Rings? No? Okay, well, anyway. Okay, so this vagus nerve, it does everything, motility, excretion, everything, and the entire, and this is 80 to 90% of your immune system. It's literally how you function. Now, what's interesting, that's only 10% of this nerve's action. It's 90% of it's sensory. So this means that anything you put in your system, you have to be able to break it down and assimilate and utilize those parts so that you can regenerate your body. Okay, does that make sense? Now, human beings, according to the Center for Disease Control, are the sickest animal species on the planet. 60% of our population in America, now we are one of the sickest industrialized nations, okay, by following their advice, and one of the sickest countries in the world and the sickest animal species. 60% of our species in America has a chronic illness or disease they'll never recover from. 40% have more than one of those diseases. Now, what are these diseases that are killing us? Heart disease, cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, strokes, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, and chronic kidney disease. We're going to go into these because is your species defective? Like if you had 60% of water buffaloes, okay, that had heart disease, cancer, and some kind of chronic disease, would we want to rush over there with crates of medications to treat them? Or would we want to find out what they're eating and their stress levels, okay? Or if they're being poisoned. Just correlate this, because when I'm trying to break through people's brains and they're saying, yeah, I'm taking the 3 blood pressure medications. Oh, okay. Do you have a dog? Have you checked your dog's blood pressure? And they'll say, well, no, I'm not going to do that because the dog is fine. Okay, but my doctor says, okay, so here's the patient last week. His reason for visit is to eliminate many of the current medications as possible. Now, he's listed heart disease, heart attack, high blood pressure, low back pain, kidney disease, cholesterol, sinusitis, diabetes, and tingling in the legs. All of these have chemical solutions, according to his doctors. So he was given 16 different prescriptions, handfuls of medications, okay? Now, there's no science behind this. It's foolishness, okay? People get sicker and sicker. It's called polypharmacy. So let's look at the actual understanding of how the body works. Comprehensive Physiology, 2014. Further understanding the regulatory mechanisms linking the sympathetic and parasympathetic and its immune system are critical understanding relationships between chronic disease development and immune system associated autonomic function. What this means is the 60% of diseases that the Center for Disease Control is I don't want to say they're promoting, but this is under their watch. So if you're following their advice like good, dutiful people, and if you're a medical doctor and you're also following the law in California, then you must follow their advice, okay, regarding certain things. So you can't express your own opinion, and this is killing the good hunk of our population. But this says you've got to look at the nervous system. Why? Well, the nervous system, this is how you experience it. So if you're in a stress state, your immune system and assimilation of nutrients is weakened. If you're not in a stress state, your assimilation of nutrients and tissue production is good. So most people have a tissue production problem. And this goes with everything. Bowel disorders, okay, that's a tissue production problem. Joint issues, looking at brain issues, you're looking at all these degenerative conditions. It's a tissue production problem. Now, how to get your nervous system checked? We use x-rays to look for physical stressors. We use heart rate variability, live blood cell thermography to look at certain stressors. Now, knowing that you've got about 80 to 90% of your immune system is in your gut, anything that damages the microbiome is going to damage your health. Does that make sense? Now, it's interesting because what kind of medications damage it? Oh, I'm sorry. One opinion fits all. Okay, let's go with the AB 2098, because that's only involving one thing that's all the social media companies are banding together. But one opinion fits all circumstances. It's something, it doesn't really work like this, does it? So you can't just prescribe the same blood pressure medications to everyone, although they do. You can't give one blood pressure number to everyone, although they do. That means the 400-pound cigar store owner and the 12-year-old gymnast are the same. Anxiety medications. Can you give one medication for everyone that has that diagnosis? Yes, you can. That's modern medical care. Can you give osteoporosis medications to everyone without even wondering why? There's an acidic blood and the body's actually not regenerating tissue. Isn't it odd, okay, that soon they're going to eliminate all differences of opinion? But all of these medications can damage the body. Medication-induced mitochondrial damage. Now, mitochondrial are little tiny energy centers inside of your cells. And your cells have all of these. And this is where you get the adenosine triphosphate, which is like the powerhouse. They're called the powerhouses of the cell. Now, anything that damages the powerhouse of the cell will damage your body's ability to reproduce itself. Now, medication induced mitochondrial damage and disease. Now, what kind of drugs can damage the mitochondria, the powerhouses? Let's go to the bottom of this. All classes of psychotropic drugs, cholesterol-lowering drugs, pain reliever drugs such as Tylenol or acetaminophen, and many others. So virtually every drug out there can damage your body's ability to have your cells have energy. Now, what can this lead to? Remember, we're in a pharmaceutically controlled government. Okay, they fund the campaigns. We're in a pharmaceutically controlled television, okay, or media, okay, and pharmaceutically controlled education. Wow, schizophrenia, bipolar disease, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, migraines, strokes, neuropathic pain, Parkinson's, ataxia, chronic fatigue, coronary artery disease, fibromyalgia. And this is all from medications that are used to treat this. Interesting. Now, this was published in 2008. That was 14 years ago. Do you think wait, if you're not going to learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Okay, boy, I knew I forgot that. Okay. Now, exercise, regular exercise is important unless you're told to isolate, and the gyms are shut down, and the parks are shut down, and the beaches are shut down. Why? Listen to the government. It's for your protection. So unless the government says so, exercise is generally good. But if the government says don't exercise and cover your face because breathing is bad, you must listen to them. Sorry, is my sarcasm showing right now? Okay. So inactivity kills, and this is like insane. And that is a photobomb of my dog and cat. Okay. They're just friggin' cool. But having them, all you got to do is say WALK. And I mean, spell it. The friggin' dog knows. It's like, dude, I know that. So exercise improves older brains. Why? Because you're going to get neurogenesis. You're going to get you're breathing out carbon dioxide. This is an acid. You're oxygenating the brain. You're getting symmetrical movement. This helps brain function. It increases blood flow to the brain. I mean, blood pressure medications, okay, decrease blood flow to the brain, okay? And all you got to do is say, okay, this is lowering your pressure. Do you think this helps oxygen to the brain? Okay, little brain, 2.5 pounds, burns 90% of the body's oxygen. Now, when you're working out, and this is daily, resistance first, okay? So if you're taking your dog for a walk, put a backpack on. Okay, get a couple of hand weights. Just go for a walk. Okay, it helps. Any kind of resistance move is first. Aerobic is second. It works fantastically well. Does that make sense? So nerve supply, regular exercise. Proper nutrition. That means that anything you put in your system, if you can metabolize it, it can make you healthier or sicker. Okay, now it's interesting when we look at cancer. Cancer is going to affect about half of the population. Okay, now it's interesting. What we're looking at here is a person under stress. The thermography, see all that red area on one side? That asymmetry, that is bad. Now the left chest area, this is where all the gut drains. Okay, this is why 85% of all breast cancers are on the left side. Now she had no breast cancer diagnosis. Okay, now the thermography can identify breast cancer or cancer generally growth after about 3 months. A mammogram can identify it after about 9 years. So we can find the problem on this patient. We can see that they're under stress. That picture in the middle is actually the heart rate variability scan that shows that she's in a sympathetic dominant state. So she's in a chronic state of fight or flight. How's her sleep patterns? Poor. How's her bowel movements? One a day. Okay, if she's lucky. Okay, this person is under extreme stress. So identifying that is good. Now, what's interesting, cancer is a metabolism, a disease of metabolic processes. It's not bad luck or bad genes. Okay, and this is from environmental factors, hypoxia, trauma, toxins. All of these are what's causing it. So when the doctors say, "Well, bad luck or bad genes, it must run in your family," bull. 100 years ago, you're talking it affected about 2% of the population. Now it affects 50% of the population. Genes haven't changed that in that time frame. But a lot of your metabolic processes have because you're exposed to chemicals. So here's one: endocrine disrupting chemicals. Now, this is in so many different things. You're talking a society scientific statement. So it turns out that scientists tend to not agree, and they tend to have a discussion to find out what's best for the people or what's the most advanced. So this is how science is supposed to work, except in California where there's only one opinion. Okay, so Endocrine Society is talking about endocrine disruptors, and this is in everything. It's in glues, plastic, pesticides, food products, everything. And it can affect male and female reproduction, breast cancer, or breast development, cancer, prostate cancer, thyroid issues, obesity, cardiovascular, endocrine. Now these endocrine disruptors, this is in everything. Okay, glyphosates. Now glyphosates just lost a big case of a couple of years ago that turns out that it causes cancer. Now this is the number one ingredient sprayed on crops in America. We call it the cancer belt on either side of the Mississippi. Now, they used to be fertile land, okay, but now that we're utilizing genetically modified crops designed to accept the glyphosates, we're seeing huge mutagens, carcinogens, and reproduction toxins. Now, if you get a chance to look at The Truth About Cancer, brilliant, brilliant series, okay? Although they have been wiped out of a lot of social media platforms because they're recommending crazy, crazy stuff like healthy food, healthy nutrition, exercise, detoxing. They're recommending against certain medical interventions that can actually weaken the immune system. But to cut your risk of cancer in half, GMO foods, don't take them. Okay, microwave popcorn, it's toxic. And canned goods with BPA. Hard grilled red meats. Okay, well, plus too, if you're looking at meats, they've got antibiotics in there. And if they're grilled too bad, it's got literally carcinogens. Refined sugar, that's poisonous. Smoked foods, because a lot of them contain nitrates. Carbonated vegetables with genetically modified high fructose corn syrup, white flour, farmed fish, and hydrogenated vegetable oils. Yeah, you hydrogen group to oils. Bacteria don't eat it, and so why should you? Now, it's interesting. Again, when we're looking at a chronic disease epidemic that's attacking our country, okay, our country, because it's not attacking every country, plants, if you're looking at a causative factor, okay, something linked to cancer, heart disease, diabetes, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, it's the nuclear factor kappa light chain enhancer of activated B cells, NFKB. Now, so this is one of the inflammatory processes that lead to these diseases or a contributing factor. What's the one thing in your world that can deactivate this or inhibit it? Plants, okay? Fruits and vegetables. So when I say, eat a lot of plants, it's not to support Bill Gates and his psycho burger, okay, which is synthetic chemicals, okay? I'm saying eat like your great great grandparents did. Okay, why? Because they lived to over 90, but they ate nothing but organic, whole foods, seasonal, and healthy. It's just normal. But eating healthy can help protect you from those diseases. It's mind blowing. Now, if anyone's familiar with BT corn, okay, it was an idea to modify this corn plant where the pollen would kill insects. So it had a poisonous pollen. They would actually destroy the intestinal tracts of it. Now, you didn't need to do it on human studies because only animals were going to eat it. Okay, now the problem is the BT corn survived the animals' digestion, embedded in the meat, survived the cooking process, survived the mom's digestive tract, and it was found in cord bloods and in their babies. Now it's interesting, there's a certain medical procedure that they're just finding out some of the particles that were supposed to remain in an arm, okay, are now found in breast milk. And you could say, look, you're not going to make an omelet without breaking some eggs. I mean, how would you know that a corn with a pesticide has its own pollen would be found in cord blood of babies after all of this? How would you know? Oh, come on. Don't say that. Don't say experiment first and check it. No, because you got to get the product on the market. Okay. And besides, you understand? This is insane. Okay. For something to be involved in a human being, for something to be involved in the food system, it has to be phenomenally important, phenomenally safe, okay, and redundantly safe, redundantly studied for years. Now, antibiotics. 70% of antibiotics, which are generally poisonous molds, are used in animal feed because we raise them unhealthy. Now, the problem with antibiotics is it destroys bacteria. You destroy bacteria, you have these yeast and fungi that will bore holes in the intestinal tract. Increased intestinal permeability is early Parkinson's disease. So it turns out the intestinal tract, if you damage this. So when we talk about how to keep healthy, you need a healthy nervous system and you got to get it checked because if you're in a stressed state, you don't have good digestion. You need regular exercise unless the government's trying to protect you. Then you need proper nutrition. This means if man makes it, you don't eat it. And if you're damaging your intestinal tract, this is leading to certain neurologic conditions that are near epidemic in our planet. Type 2 diabetes is a blood poisoning. This is so easy to fix. You fix the person's sleep patterns. You get them off of the stress state or the medications. But if you have somebody with the blood poisoning, which is 95% of all diabetics, and you give them a drug to reduce it, it does reduce the glucose. But insulin remains high. So if you reduce glucose 9%, you have a 19% increase in death. You reduce blood glucose 14%, you have a 43% increase in death. Wouldn't it be easier to fix the diet? Okay, and exercise and look at the cause. Just look at the video, Simply Raw by Gabriel Cousins. Again, fruit, vegetables are good for you. This, garlic, onions, cruciferous vegetables, super high in glutathione. And this is one of the few ingredients out there that actually help, not really detox, but there's a thing, I can't really talk about it, but if I said graphene oxide, okay, just know that it's in something that's been forced on a lot of people. Glutathione helps not really detox from it, but it can deactivate it. So just know that glutathione is a master antioxidant, fantastically important. Building up the gut flora, hugely important, hugely important. Probiotic bacteria have beneficial effects in these diseases, and we're looking at inflammatory bowel disease, diarrhea, critical illness. We already know that if the gut isn't working right, Parkinson's, neurologic. Omega 3s, single most important nutrient for optimal brain function. Hugely important. Now, sufficient rest. Why is rest so important? Because this is when your body regenerates. When we look, the dark side of sleeping pills, you will be blown away. If you take a chemical to sleep, you have a 35% increase in cancer. Okay. Now, cancer affects half of our population. So if you're a Pez dispensing medical doctor, okay, where you don't think about anything because you're following the government guidelines, and somebody has a sleep problem, we have that. Okay, it's Lunesta or something, because this way you can have a butterfly flying around. I'm being recorded right now, sir. Otherwise, we'll ask questions later. Okay, so if you're taking a pill for sleep, it increases your risk of cancer. But also, a chemically induced sleep means you're not going to be able to regenerate. So instead of finding the actual cause of not sleeping, we're going to medicate you. They died 4 to 6 times more often than average than people avoided sleeping pills, suicide, overdose, and cancer. It's not a good thing. Now you can reset your circadian rhythms. And I mean, I've got a number of different videos. You can get it on the Dr. BVIP. I've got sleep videos on this. Okay, reset your circadian rhythm. Just know that there's high disease rates at 9 hours or more or 5 hours or less. Optimal human function is 6.5 to 7.5 hours. So there's a way to hit this reset button to reset your sleep patterns. It takes around 5 days to reset it, okay, where you're going to limit your sleep to 6 hours, but you got to prepare your mind. So you're going to journal, to write down what you did that day, what you're going to do the next day in any emotionally charged event that calms the subconscious. You're going to read a paper book 15 minutes before bed, okay, and then you're going to go, you got to have nightshades on. White noise machine would be ideal, but all this stuff prepares your mind for sleep. Because if you know that sleep is when your body regenerates, sleep is hugely important. This is why I've got so many videos on sleep. Okay, now prayer and meditation. Prayer and meditation, okay, even if you have no belief or understanding that you're a divine energy, that there is divinity about you, that you're made in the image and likeness of God, okay, that spiritual energy is actually tangible. And this could be Buddhist energy, it could be the one, it could be anything, but there is an energy about your body and mind and belief system. And it's huge because when we look at this, um, prayer and meditation daily, connecting with something greater than yourself, but just prayer can get you in that parasympathetic state where you're resting, digesting, and regenerating. Okay, I mean, it just makes sense. It makes sense to do this, to take a few minutes every day to connect with a power greater than you. Okay, no, I'm not talking about Fauci. Okay, I'm talking about, the energy that formed you. Boy, the Democrat in every group. Okay, prayer and meditation. Okay, or neurolinguistic programming, daily affirmations, and there's emotional freedom technique, the DeMartini breakthrough method. I mean, there's so many things that you can do that you can take charge of your own health. It's hugely important. So what do you do? Um, Physical, chemical, emotional stress. This is ideal. Physical stress, you identify this with static and stress x-rays, posture analysis. We do all of that, okay? Chemical stress. This could be poor sleep patterns. You're going to identify the chemical stress on a thermography. You're also going to identify it on a live blood cell analysis. Emotional stress will show up on a live blood cell analysis. Why? Because even if you're just emotionally stressed, the blood increases its viscosity. And you've got to address the emotional stressors. If you're not addressing the emotional stressors and the chemical stressors and the physical stressors, you do not get better. Okay, because your body's going to respond to all three of these. And it's interesting, they say, how hard is it? Like if you read any of the like Bible, Torah, Quran, okay, how hard is it to open a door? You got to knock. What's the whole point of to get something? You got to ask. I mean, it's hugely important. And again, this is just another slam on the AB 2098. Higher blood pressure had lower death rates. This is the Journal of the American Medical Association. Do you think there's any differences of opinion when it comes to blood pressure or any individuality. Mortality rates were 4 times higher for those with systolic of less than 120 in comparison to those who had one over 161 in 48,000 heart failure patients. Why? Because oxygen is good. Maybe the blood is too thick. Maybe there's some kind of stress. These are 48,000 heart failure patients. So the body was having to adapt. Blood pressure medications increase stroke. I thought, doctor, these were. Now, that patient I brought you up, okay, at the start had 3 blood pressure medications. 3. And I said, whatever you do, okay, because you got to follow the doctor's recommendation, don't take them together. Separate them by like an hour. It's just what Grandma Nana would say. Okay. She'd say, honey, we don't know what those things do together. And we know that people who take 3 or more medications to control their blood pressure were at a 248% higher risk of stroke, okay, than those of normal. You're in much trouble by the time you're on 3 medications that achieve excellent control. Yeah, your blood pressure is fine, okay, except you have an increased risk of stroke because it's not blood pressure that causes stroke. This is insanity. And I love the American Heart Journal 2004. Now, this was 18 years ago, but it expresses the sentiment that I have about a lot of medical literature. People are diagnosed with heart failure and follow a treatment regime that includes blood thinners, aspirin, Coumadin, could be putting their health into more danger. Based on this results of these studies, experts said treatment of heart failure involving a multitude of drugs that proved to be ineffective should be eliminated as a treatment option. And I'm thinking ineffective drugs, a multitude of them given to everybody would be fine. It turns out that ineffective drugs can have a negative effect. And remember, cholesterol guidelines. The government is always right. There's only one opinion. Thus, the epidemic of heart failure and hardening of the arteries that plague the modern world may be paradoxically aggravated by the pervasive use of statin drugs. Bummer. Okay, the aspirin a day, is no longer recommended. And this was a study involving 13 countries, okay? We're talking if 100,000 people took an aspirin a day, you save 33 to 46 lives. However, you can lose 68 to 117 through gastrointestinal bleeding and 8 to 10 through stroke. Okay, so is there something better? Okay, and again, this is what real science does. You try something, okay, if you're not really looking at anatomy and physiology, okay, you got to work it out. I mean, that's why we put this up, because if your body can adapt to the environment, that's the nervous system. Is it safe or dangerous? If you're able to move your body, which stimulates brain function, heart function, and nervous system function, if you're taking in nutrients that your body can assimilate, not BT toxins, not genetically modified foods, not medication, because I'm telling you that apple, banana, and zucchini that you're putting in your mouth goes in your intestines, it's through the intestinal wall into the liver, and it gets from the liver to the heart, to the lungs, back to the heart, and out to the entire body. Same thing with the hydrochlorothiazide or the ACE inhibitor or the cholesterol-lowering drug or the aspirin or the Tylenol or the 16 different drugs that you're taking in handfuls twice a day. That goes through the liver as well. So proper nutrition is important. Sleep is important because this is when your body regenerates. And prayer and meditation is important because this is how your attitude, your autonomic nervous system. Does that make sense? It seems so simple. But with 60% of America having a chronic illness or disease by following this process, okay, even though the government's always right and never wrong, and there's only one opinion, okay, that we need to change this. Does that make sense? Because the government is wrong. There is more than one opinion, and people are constantly learning. Okay? This is a tyrannical takeover. Okay? I mean, this is crazy. We're going into a dangerous area. We're the Dr. B VIP. And this is going to be where certain subject matter can't be talked about. in our society today. So thank you. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, please click subscribe, click the bell, because they are shadow banning. They demonetized us. They've done everything. And those that are supporting Dr. B, God bless you. Thank you. Okay. And I'll see you next week. And I'll see you next week on Facebook as well.